Ladies and gentlemen, friends and believers in the power of dreams, I want to share with you a story that transcends boundaries and highlights something beyond technology or business. This is a story about hope, potential, and the unexpected paths that lead us to greatness. It's about an encounter that, at first glance, seemed like an ordinary moment, but would soon transform into an extraordinary journey. It was a typical brisk morning in downtown Los Angeles when Elon Musk, already a man of global influence, happened to be in the area. After finishing a series of meetings, he took a detour to clear his mind, heading down a quiet alley not far from the city's bustling center. It was a part of town that many would never dare visit, an area often overlooked by the busy streets of commerce and luxury. Homelessness was visible on every corner, the cries for help silent yet deafening in the shadows of towering skyscrapers. As Elon walked down the alley, his attention was drawn to a figure sitting on a bench, scribbling notes on a tattered piece of paper. It was a man, unkempt, but his eyes held a sharp focus, like someone deep in thought, solving a complex problem that no one else could comprehend. Elon slowed his pace, intrigued by the intensity with which the man was writing. He didn't look like the typical homeless person Elon was accustomed to seeing in the city. There was something different about him, his posture, his expression. It all suggested a mind at work, a mind that perhaps didn't belong in this place. It was clear that this man had a story, but what was it? Without hesitation, Elon approached. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm yet curious. The man looked up, startled but not entirely surprised. "Yes?" His voice was raspy but had an undeniable confidence, an unspoken knowledge behind it. "I couldn't help but notice you're deep in thought," Elon continued. "What are you working on?" The man hesitated, his eyes narrowing slightly as if deciding whether or not to share his thoughts. "A plan," he said after a long pause. "A plan to change the world." Elon raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A plan to change the world, huh? That's quite a bold statement." The man nodded, his hands gripping the paper tighter as he gestured toward a nearby trash bin where discarded objects lay in a chaotic heap. "This world, it's full of waste. Resources are scattered everywhere, but nobody knows how to harness them. I have a plan to change that, to take all this waste and turn it into something useful, something sustainable." Elon leaned in slightly, his interest piqued. "You're talking about waste management?" The man shook his head. "Not just waste management. I'm talking about using waste to generate energy, to create new materials, to power homes, businesses, and even vehicles. The problem isn't the waste, it's the system that ignores it. I've been working on a way to turn trash into treasure, literally." Elon's mind raced. The idea was unpolished, but the man's confidence was undeniable. There was something about his words that felt right, something that stirred the same sense of possibility that had driven Elon to revolutionize space travel and electric cars. He knew instinctively that this wasn't just another passing conversation. This was the beginning of something big. "I've seen a lot of things in my time," Elon said thoughtfully, "but I have to admit, this sounds different. Do you mind if I take a closer look at your plan?" The man didn't hesitate. He handed Elon the crumpled paper, and for the next few minutes Elon read over the man's ideas. Though they were rough, even fragmented, they contained the spark of innovation, a method for converting waste materials, plastic, glass, even organic matter, into sustainable energy sources, building materials, and eco-friendly products. It wasn't just about recycling. It was about a closed-loop system that could reshape industries. Elon's thoughts began to swirl. Could this man really have the answer to some of the world's most pressing problems? Was this the breakthrough he had been waiting for? "Where did you come up with all this?" Elon asked, looking up from the paper. The man smiled faintly, his face showing a lifetime of hardship. "I'm an engineer. I lost my job years ago. Things haven't been easy, but I've never stopped thinking. The system that left me behind, it's broken. I just started looking at the world differently. And what I see is potential." Elon stood there, silent for a moment. He looked around at the dilapidated alley, at the man's weathered face, at the pile of waste strewn across the ground. He could see it now. The waste wasn't the problem. The problem was the way people had been looking at it all along. This engineer, this man who had been abandoned by the world, was the one who might just have the answer. After a long pause, Elon looked at him, eyes alight with determination. "I want to help you. I don't know how, but I believe you've got something real here, something that can change everything." The man looked up, startled by the offer. "You'd help me? But I'm just a nobody. I've got nothing but these ideas." "You have more than that," Elon replied. "You have vision, and that's worth more than anything else." From that moment on, things changed for both of them. Elon immediately connected the engineer, whose name was William, with some of the brightest minds at Tesla and SpaceX. They began refining his ideas, testing his concepts in labs, running simulations, and working tirelessly to bring his vision to life. It wasn't long before they realized that William's plan wasn't just feasible, it was revolutionary. William's waste-to-energy system, with some adjustments and improvements, could transform industries from energy production to manufacturing. It could reduce carbon emissions, eliminate the need for landfills, and even create entirely new sustainable products. Elon could see it now. This was something that could help solve the world's energy crisis and tackle climate change in one bold stroke. However, not everyone was on board. As the project gained momentum, opposition grew from corporations, politicians, and industries that had long benefited from the status quo. They saw William's system as a threat to their power and wealth, but Elon was determined to make it happen. He threw his weight behind the project, using his influence to fight back against those who sought to suppress it. The project took months of tireless work, but when it finally launched, the results were nothing short of breathtaking. William's waste-to-energy system was implemented in several test cities, and the impact was immediate. Carbon emissions dropped, waste was reduced, and communities that had once struggled with pollution and energy shortages now had a reliable and sustainable power source. As William stood at the podium during the global announcement of the new system's success, he looked out at the sea of faces: politicians, scientists, environmentalists, and reporters. He had gone from being a homeless engineer in a forgotten alley to standing on the world stage, making history. Elon stood beside him, beaming with pride. "This is just the beginning," Elon said to the crowd. "William's plan has changed the game. We're just getting started. We have the power to build a sustainable future for everyone." The world cheered. William turned to Elon, a grateful smile on his face. "I never imagined it would come to this. You changed my life, Elon. You saw the potential in me when no one else did." Elon nodded, his eyes gleaming with the same vision that had driven him for so many years. "You had the potential all along. I just helped you see it." And so, William's brilliance, once hidden in the shadows of society, now illuminated the world. His plan wasn't just a solution, it was a beacon of hope, a reminder that talent, vision, and determination could rise above any circumstance, and that sometimes the most unexpected discoveries lead to the greatest transformations. As the success of William's waste-to-energy system spread, so did the ripple effects of his journey from homelessness to global recognition. The media hailed him as a visionary, a man who had risen from the very bottom to redefine the future of sustainability. The entire world took notice, and William was no longer a nameless face on a park bench, but a household name, a symbol of resilience and innovation. But as the project gained international traction, the challenges became more complex. Elon, ever the optimist, was determined to see this through. But William knew that the road ahead would be filled with obstacles. Even with his system now in place, there were powerful entities that would stop at nothing to prevent it from becoming mainstream. One such entity was the fossil fuel industry, which, despite its growing unpopularity, still held vast influence in many parts of the world. They knew that William's waste-to-energy technology threatened their entire business model, and as powerful corporations, they had no intention of allowing a small, seemingly inconspicuous idea to disrupt their stranglehold on energy production. Elon was prepared for resistance. He had faced it before with Tesla, with SpaceX, and with every groundbreaking venture he had undertaken. He had built his career on challenging the status quo, but he also knew that William's system wasn't just a business opportunity. It was a solution to the world's most pressing environmental crises. He couldn't let it fail. As the weeks turned into months, the pressure mounted. Corporate lobbying groups began flooding local governments with anti-sustainability rhetoric, attempting to discredit William's system by casting doubt on its efficacy. Some claimed the technology was too new, too untested, while others tried to paint it as an environmental fad with no real potential. The media, too, was divided. Some outlets championed William as a hero, while others attacked him for being a one-hit wonder. Elon and William remained undeterred. They knew that success wasn't just about the technology, it was about the message. They needed to convince the world that their vision was the future, and so they doubled down on their efforts, launching global campaigns to educate the public about the immense benefits of waste-to-energy systems, from reducing landfills to curbing carbon emissions and creating sustainable jobs. The turning point came when they were invited to present their solution at the United Nations Climate Change Summit. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the chance to address world leaders, scientists, and environmental advocates all in one place. It was a massive platform, and William was nervous. This wasn't just about a new product or a business venture. This was about changing the very fabric of the global energy system. Elon, sensing William's apprehension, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You've already done the hard part. You created something that can change the world. All you have to do now is share it with them." The day of the summit arrived, and William, alongside Elon, stood in front of an audience of thousands. The crowd was silent as William began his speech. His voice, once shaky and unsure, now carried the weight of his journey, his story, his idea, and his mission to change the future. "The world is at a crossroads," William began, his words steady and strong. "We're at the edge of a precipice, watching as our planet suffocates beneath mountains of waste and pollution. But we don't have to continue down this path. We have the power to rewrite the story. What I've created is not just an invention, it's a lifeline. A way to take the very things we throw away and turn them into something beautiful. Energy, materials, a cleaner, more sustainable future for all." The room was quiet. People were listening, not just to his words, but to the passion behind them. William's story resonated with everyone who had ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed. He wasn't just an engineer with a brilliant idea. He was a symbol of resilience, of the ability to rise from the lowest point and reach for the stars. When the speech ended, the applause was deafening. But even as the world celebrated, the opposition did not wane. The battle was just beginning. Powerful lobbyists continued to pressure governments, attempting to delay the widespread adoption of the waste-to-energy system. Some cities and countries embraced the technology, while others remained skeptical, held back by corporate interests and fear of change. For Elon and William, the fight was far from over. They began working directly with governments and local businesses, offering incentives and partnerships to integrate the system into urban areas. It wasn't an easy task, but William's vision, combined with Elon's support and vast network, began to gain more traction. Slowly but surely, cities around the world started adopting the technology, reducing waste and generating sustainable energy on a scale never before seen. One of the most significant breakthroughs came when a major city in India, struggling with both waste management and power shortages, agreed to implement the system. The results were astounding. Energy output surged, waste was reduced by over 70%, and air quality improved drastically. People who had once lived in the shadow of pollution began to see a real, tangible improvement in their daily lives. Soon, other cities followed suit. The technology spread like wildfire, and before long, entire nations began to adopt it. William's system was no longer just an idea. It was a global movement, a fundamental part of the fight against climate change. William stood at the forefront of a new generation of innovators. The homeless engineer had become a symbol of hope for the underdog, the visionary, the ones who dared to dream. He had done it. He had taken a simple idea, born from the ashes of his own struggle, and turned it into something that was changing the world. And as he stood next to Elon Musk at the opening of the largest waste-to-energy plant in the world, William knew that his journey had come full circle. From the alleyway to the global stage, from being a forgotten man to becoming a world changer. He had proved that even the smallest idea, when nurtured with passion and perseverance, could make the impossible possible. Elon clapped him on the back, a grin spreading across his face. "We did it," Elon said. "Together, we did it." William smiled, looking around at the massive plant, the hum of machinery in the background, the workers milling about. He had done it, and the world was a better place because of it. But perhaps the greatest lesson William learned was one he had always known deep down. That talent, vision, and determination could rise above any circumstance. No matter how difficult life got, there was always hope. And sometimes it only took one person, a person who saw your potential, believed in you, and gave you a chance, to help you realize that potential. And that person, for William, had been Elon Musk, the man who changed his life, not just by offering him help, but by giving him the opportunity to change the world. As the world embraced this new chapter, the homeless engineer, once forgotten, had become one of the most influential innovators of the century. The story of William, the homeless engineer with a brilliant plan, had only just begun. William's journey became an example of what could be achieved when ingenuity met opportunity. His technology became an essential tool for governments and industries alike in their quest for sustainable energy solutions. It wasn't just the fact that his system worked. It was the realization that his life's journey, from homelessness to becoming a global leader, had a message of its own. Never underestimate the potential in people, no matter where they come from or what their current situation may be. However, with this success came new challenges. Not everyone was happy with the rapid rise of William's technology. Some of the powerful industrial giants, especially those in the fossil fuel sector, had been watching the changes with increasing anxiety. They had fought tooth and nail to maintain their dominance, and the rise of William's waste-to-energy systems was a direct threat to their multi-billion-dollar operations. Corporate interests began to rally behind opposition campaigns designed to slow down the transition to cleaner technologies. Some tried to spread misinformation, while others worked behind closed doors to ensure that the adoption of William's technology wouldn't spread too quickly. At the same time, William became a target for online trolls and hostile narratives. Some sought to undermine his credibility, questioning whether his success was just a fluke or an innovation that had merely been lucky. Others tried to discredit his rise, suggesting that it was all because of Elon Musk's backing and support, downplaying William's genius and the work he had put into developing the system. This was something Elon had foreseen, but William had come to realize it would be part of the journey. The road to changing the world was never easy, and there would always be those who sought to tear down what others had built. Despite the challenges, William's resilience was stronger than ever. As he continued to meet with leaders, activists, and scientists around the world, he made sure his message remained clear. Sustainable energy was not just about technological advancements. It was about ensuring a healthier and more equitable world for future generations. He traveled to places ravaged by environmental destruction, places where children couldn't breathe clean air and rivers were polluted by waste. He wanted to show people that his technology wasn't just an invention, it was a pathway to cleaner cities, healthier populations, and ultimately a brighter future for all. But with all of this success, William remained grounded. He never forgot where he came from. He often visited the park bench where he had once slept, taking time to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. The young homeless man who had been dismissed and ignored by society was now an influential figure with the ability to change the world. In interviews, William was always quick to credit his success to the people who had supported him along the way. He was always careful to point out that, while his innovation had been instrumental, it was only possible because people like Elon Musk had taken a chance on him when no one else did. Elon didn't just see an idea, William said in a TED Talk, his voice filled with gratitude. He saw a person. He saw my potential, even when I couldn't see it myself. And that's what made all the difference. Elon, of course, was as humble as always about their partnership, but his admiration for William was clear. He frequently spoke about how William had taught him just as much as he had taught him. What I learned from William is that the most powerful innovations don't always come from the best schools or the richest backgrounds, Elon shared during a public interview. They come from the people who've lived through struggle, who understand the value of resilience and the power of having a dream. The bond between Elon and William grew beyond business. It became a genuine friendship. They would often meet to discuss new ideas, share personal stories, and talk about the state of the world. There was a shared understanding between them. The work wasn't over. It had only just begun. The global waste-to-energy system that William had created was now in full operation in several countries. Cities all over the world had begun adopting the technology, with thousands of plants running at full capacity. Waste was no longer an enemy. It was a resource. And the results were nothing short of remarkable. One of the most profound shifts that occurred was the way communities began to view waste. For decades, waste had been something to throw away, something that added to pollution and clogged landfills. But William's system made people see waste in a new light, as something that could be repurposed and turned into something of value. It wasn't just the cities and countries adopting the technology. It was the everyday people who were starting to make more sustainable choices in their own lives. They recycled more. They composted more. They reduced their waste more. And most importantly, they believed in the possibility of a future where people could work together to heal the planet. William knew that this kind of change didn't happen overnight. But as he looked at the communities thriving with the help of his technology, he realized that they were on the right path. The world was starting to understand. People were beginning to care about the planet more, and they were taking action. Elon and William knew there was still a long way to go. Climate change was not a problem that could be solved overnight, and there were many other pressing issues to address. But they had laid the foundation for something monumental. They had proven that one person, with the right opportunity and support, could change the world. They had shown the power of innovation, determination, and hope. William's success was not just about the technology. It was about people believing in him, seeing the potential in his idea, and giving him the chance to make it a reality. It was about Elon Musk seeing beyond the surface, recognizing William's brilliance, and helping him rise above his circumstances. And in that moment, when William stood at the podium, watching the crowd's reaction to his speech, he understood something profound. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every person who had ever been overlooked, every person who had ever been told they weren't enough. He had become a symbol of possibility for them. His message was clear. No matter where you start, no matter how difficult the journey may seem, anything is possible with determination, innovation, and the right people by your side. As the applause filled the room, William smiled, knowing that the journey he had embarked on was not just his own. It was a shared journey, one that would continue to inspire people for generations to come. William's technological breakthroughs continued to ripple across the globe. His waste-to-energy systems were now present in dozens of countries, and their impact was undeniable. Entire cities that once struggled with overflowing landfills and air pollution were now cleaner, more sustainable, and healthier. But William never allowed himself to rest on his laurels. He remained humble, grounded, and always focused on the work that lay ahead. The incredible thing about his rise wasn't just the success of his technology. It was the story behind it, a story of resilience, of a man who had nothing but an idea and a dream, a story of how one person, who had once been overlooked and forgotten, could change the course of history. He had once been a homeless man on the streets, fighting for survival. Yet today he was a global figure, standing at the forefront of a revolution in energy and sustainability. But even as the world acknowledged his achievements, William knew there were still forces at play that wanted to maintain the status quo. The powerful industries that had made billions from fossil fuels still wielded immense influence, and they were not about to let go of their dominance without a fight. William had expected this. He had been through enough struggles to know that change, especially on this scale, was never easy. But each day as he fought these battles, he remained more determined than ever to prove that change was not only possible, but it was inevitable. One day, after a long meeting with government officials in a major European city, William received a call from Elon. His friend and mentor had been keeping a close eye on the developments surrounding William's work, and he was eager to share some exciting news. "William," Elon began, his voice full of excitement, "I've just gotten off the phone with a group of investors who are ready to back your vision in a way we've never seen before. They see what I see. Your technology is going to change the world. It's not just a matter of making energy cleaner, it's about shifting the entire paradigm of how we view waste and energy." William paused for a moment, taking in Elon's words. It was one of those moments when he was reminded of just how far he had come. From the days when he was dismissed as just another homeless man with no future to this, being at the helm of a revolution, with the full support of people who truly believed in his vision. "I can't thank you enough, Elon," William replied, his voice thick with emotion. "This has been a long road, and sometimes it feels like the struggle will never end. but I know we're on the right track." Elon's response was simple but powerful. "You've already proven that, William. The world needs more people like you, people who don't give up no matter the obstacles in their way." It was at that moment, while standing at the pinnacle of his success, that William felt something deep within him, a sense of fulfillment and clarity. He realized that his journey wasn't just about innovation. It was about something far greater. It was about showing the world that with a little belief, a little support, and a lot of perseverance, anything was possible. As William made his way to his next speaking engagement, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here, he couldn't help but think back to the early days. He thought of the cold streets, the loneliness, and the uncertainty that had once defined his life. But more than that, he thought of the people who had believed in him when no one else did. He thought of Elon, who had seen something in him when he had nothing to show but a dream. He thought of all the people who had helped him along the way, and he realized something profound. It wasn't just the technology that had changed the world. It was the power of hope, of believing that change was possible, even when the world seemed to tell you otherwise. As he stood before a crowd at a major conference, about to share his journey with the world, he felt a deep sense of responsibility. He knew that his story was bigger than just him. It was about the countless others who, like him, had been told they weren't enough, that their dreams were too big, too impossible. It was about proving that no matter where you start, no matter how many times you fall, you can always rise again. And so, as the applause filled the auditorium, William's thoughts returned to that moment when his life had changed forever. The moment when he had been homeless, hungry, and hopeless, yet found a path forward. The moment when Elon had seen in him what the world had overlooked. It was that moment that had led him here. And it was that moment that had shown the world that one person, with the right support and the right vision, could change everything. The audience's cheers echoed in his ears, but William remained still for a moment, absorbing the magnitude of it all. The man who had once been dismissed was now standing before them, a symbol of possibility. In that instant he realized that his success wasn't just about what he had done, it was about what he had become. He had become a symbol of hope, of resilience, of a dream that had come to life. And as the crowd continued to cheer, William knew that this was just the beginning. He had come from nothing. He had been counted out, dismissed, and underestimated. But he had proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that no one, no matter their background or circumstances, should ever be written off. And so, as the lights dimmed and the crowd filled out, William looked out over the sea of faces and whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning.